Ach, Mama, was ist los? What's this, a dark horse?
During the Second World War, Hollywood makes a massive contribution alongside the American government. The cinema industry mobilizes its production facilities and the talents of its writers, its technicians, and its stars. A gigantic propaganda machine is thus set up to support the war effort in the face of America's new enemies: Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and the Japanese Empire. This commitment by Hollywood is a unique adventure, never repeated since. At the beginning of 1942, the government hands an information manual over to the cinema industry. It contains the particular recommendation to highlight in films the courage shown by Europe's populations, the vast majority of whom are living under the jackboot of the Third Reich armies. We can suffer with them in their hardships, the manual states, and gain strength from their strength. Consequently, on the 6th of March 1942, the film To Be or Not to Be by German-born director Ernst Lubitsch is released, portraying the resistance movement in Poland.
New spirit had come over the people of Poland. Hate and more hate was the answer to the Nazi terror. Rebellion against suppression, determination to fight at any moment, anywhere, everywhere. The battle was on. V for victory. Down with the Nazis, down with Hitler. The Warsaw Underground striking back. Sabotage, destruction.
Between 1942 and 1944, countless Hollywood productions glorify the secret armies taking a stand against the Nazi occupying forces. In Yugoslavia, in Norway, in France, despite humiliation, torture, and deprivation, the heroes of these films refuse to collaborate with the enemy and assert the need to resist. A film like The Cross of Lorraine, which is set in France, shows that the resistance fighters are ready to sacrifice their lives in the defense of freedom. Death is better than submission.
Is to bring back happiness to millions of homes all over France. That we are going to fight again.
The Nazis will be back. Hundreds of them next time. What do you want to do, wait for them?
Let us live in the fear of no man.
In December 1943, General de Gaulle writes to actor Jean-Pierre Aumont, a volunteer in the Free French Forces in Algiers, congratulating him personally for his role in the film The Cross of Lorraine. It is right that this silent and bloody war be brought to the attention of our faithful friends abroad. The American government also understands the need for the public to know its allies better. The idea of a global army is essential. China under Chiang Kai-shek had been attacked by the Japanese in 1937. China fights alongside the English and the Americans on the Asian front, in particular to regain control of Burma. American Lieutenant General Stilwell even takes up the post of Chief of Staff to the Chinese Army. An official grand tour of the United States is organized in 1943 in honor of China's First Lady, Mrs. Chiang Kai-shek. The trip culminates on the 4th of April in Hollywood, California, where Mrs. Chiang Kai-shek gives a speech in front of 30,000 people, including many leading figures from the cinema industry.
We shall not permit aggression to raise its satanic head and threaten man's greatest heritage, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all peoples.
The training of Chinese pilots at American bases in Arizona generates a great deal of publicity. The pilots are regularly photographed and filmed alongside Hollywood stars.
The commanding officer of these new pilots has asked me to speak for him. He wants me to thank you boys for your warm demonstration of our feeling for them. Don't you think it is we who should thank them and all the Chinese people for their magnificent courage and steadfastness? It is like a light to guide the free peoples of the world.
Several films pay homage to the courage of the Chinese in the face of their Japanese invaders. However, the main characters of these films are almost always Westerners, an adventurer, a nurse, or a missionary. Oriental characters rarely escape the stereotypical Hollywood treatment of the period. They are often played by American actors wearing makeup, when they aren't played by an Armenian or an Austrian of Turkish descent. Even if a film such as Dragon Seed attempts to offer real insight into Chinese culture, it is still difficult today to see it as anything other than a propaganda film or a cinematic curio.
Your eyes are as soft. Your hair is pleasant to my touch. No, I cannot see this change. And I do not wish a change.
It is within me. But it is so great, I thought it must show in my face.
What is the cause of this great difference, and when did it begin?
On the night we first opened our hearts to each other, my husband.
Another major American ally is the Soviet Union. German troops invaded its territory on the 22nd of June 1941, smashing the non-aggression pact signed between the two countries 2 years previously. From then on, the Red Army fiercely resists the Nazi armies and succeeds in the winter of 1942 in putting a stop to their advance. The hopes of civilization rest on the worthy banners of the courageous Russian army, declares General MacArthur. As with China, Hollywood and its stars regularly pay tribute to the courage of the Russian army and people.
This music was written by a soldier, a Russian soldier, one who fought in one of the greatest battles of this war, the siege of Leningrad. That battle is still going on, and Dmitri Shostakovich is still in it.
Of all the pro-Ally films produced during the war, those focusing on Russia are without doubt the most disconcerting. For years, Hollywood's output has reflected the anti-communist feeling that inspires the majority of American public opinion. Reversing this trend presents the studios with a real challenge. How to make Russians sympathetic to American eyes? Answer: by erasing from scripts any direct reference to communism. On screen, the Soviets once more become Russians with a 1,000-year-old culture. And in this romantic vision, no cliché is spared. The film The North Star, released in 1943, is illustrative of this type of production. It portrays a village of Ukrainian peasants on the first day of the German invasion. The community faces the invasion with courage and organizes guerrilla warfare straight away.
I am willing to give my life, to die in battle, to keep my people from fascist slavery.
I am willing to give my life, to die in battle, to keep my people from fascist slavery.
Sitting upright in their saddles, like in a real Western, the North Star Cossacks struggled to defend their families and their land. American values deftly transferred to the plains of Western Russia. In Michael Curtis's Mission to Moscow, released in 1943, Hollywood's pro-Russian propaganda reaches its peak. The film, which is set just before the outbreak of war, has a greater political dimension. It is inspired by Joseph Davies' eponymous book, where he relates his experience as ambassador to the Soviet Union between 1936 and 1938.
Mission to Moscow is my report to the American people as ambassador of the United States to the Soviet Union. I wrote it as I saw it and lived it. Warner Brothers have courageously filmed it, true to the history as I saw it in the making.
Unique in American cinema of the period, Mission to Moscow clearly vindicates the Stalinist regime, depicting it as pacifist, progressive, and benevolent. It stays true to Davies' viewpoint, which fervently tries to convince American public opinion of the misunderstanding of which he thinks the Soviets are victims.
Walter Houston as Ambassador Davies, Anne Harding as Mrs. Davies, with a superb cast portraying Joseph Stalin, Winston Churchill, Premier Molotov, President Kalinin, Maxim Litvinov, Marshal Timoshenko, and other world figures, reenacting for the screen the cataclysmic events which changed the entire course of human history.
It's hard to believe today how Mission to Moscow could ever have been released. When it reaches cinemas in May 1943, the film attracts violent criticism. In the daily newspaper The Nation, James Agee offers up this delicious appraisal: the first Soviet production to come from a major American studio.
One, two, button on my shoe. 3, 4, shut on a door. 5, 6, see him over the sticks. 7, 8, array them straight. 9, 10. Begin again.
Many other films also condemn the strategies and objectives of the three Axis powers: Germany, Italy, and Japan. The War Information Office tells producers that 3 out of 10 Americans would view favorably a negotiated peace with German army leaders. Films must therefore constantly remind cinema-goers of the foundations of Nazi doctrine.
You who are true Aryan Germans will share the glorious destiny of our fatherland. You are the pure-blooded, the master race. It is your divine right to rule, and the Nazi party stands ready to put you into power. It is for you to command all Germany, and someday the entire world.
That's how Hans became a Superman. They gave him a uniform and they pumped up his ego. He wasn't just a little fellow out of work anymore. He was a member of the master race.
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil, boy! I'm from South Germany. Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! I'm a sick heiler, too.
In its recommendations to scriptwriters, the government stresses, through the leaders of the Nazi revolution, Satan is trying to lead the common man of the whole world back into slavery and darkness. From now on, the soldiers of the Third Reich are portrayed on screen as the new spirit of evil, and the shadow of the swastika creeps over terrorized faces.
Well, you never get anything out of him. We'll see.
You can't beat him anymore. He is wounded, can't you see? You'll kill him.
That will come later, have no fear. Now, once and for all, Doctor, are you going to tell us what you know? Or would you rather see your son beaten before your eyes? Speak up. I want the truth.
The portrayal of Nazi officers wearing a monocle and speaking with strong German accents is skillfully crafted. It includes many colorful, larger-than-life compositions played by members of Hollywood's German-speaking community. Conrad Veidt, Erich von Stroheim or Helmut Dantin.
Silence!
What you don't understand is that the individual man...
Quiet, you fool!
The individual man must stand against you like a rock.
Will you stop?
No. If I were afraid, there might be hope for you, but I'm not. There are certain things you cannot take away from me. What is mine is mine. Do you think you can stop the working of my brain and my heart? We are not animals, we are men. That is the foundation of law. You cannot win. Where are your courts, your judges, and your juries?
While war rages in Europe, the most hated man on the planet is himself the leading character in several films. These films are often of poor quality and are above all designed to allow the American public to let off steam. Their goal is to ridicule Adolf Hitler, and few of them claim the artistic ambitions of Chaplin's The Great Dictator or Lubitsch's To Be or Not to Be.
Der Führer! Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler!
Heil myself.
Actor Bobby Watson is regularly cast in the role. With his startling resemblance to the Führer, he plays him 5 times on screen during the war. And in the comedies produced by Hal Roach, farce reaches dizzy heights.
Am I the happy painter man? Yeah, I am the painter man. Have I got my pot to paint? Yeah, I have my pot to paint. Have I got my old paintbrush? Yeah, I have my...
These films invariably poke fun at the relationship between Hitler and his 2 equally ridiculous Allied conspirators, Mussolini and Sukiyaki, a Japanese diplomat.
Well, I think I'm gonna go in now.
What's your name again?
Mussolini.
Who?
Mussolini. Benito. Il Duce.
You also want to take Junior in?
He's no my son.
Oh, no, me no Junior, please. Me Honorable Sukiyaki. What about on Japan? Thank you.
I'll see what I can do for you. Heil Hitler! Mussolini and Sukiyaki.
Let them in. Mussolini, maybe he's got something else I can take away from him.
Mr. Hit.
Ah, my good friend Sukiyaki.
Hello. I bring happy greeting. What about on Japan?
Look, for you I got a nice present.
Excuse, please. Are not his. He stole same from me.
You stole Sukiyaki's airplane? Is that harmony? Where did you get it?
I stole same from United States.
Then it belongs to the Reich.
It's got a nice bomb on the nose, eh?
And the TNT.
Here, you hold it.
I show how to make it fly. I push lever, so go like this. Only better.
It's wonderful, wonderful. That's what I think, too. It's positively wonderful.
Very, very clever, Americans.
Every opportunity is seized to taunt America's enemies and assert the country's determination to defeat them. During a campaign to salvage scrap metal for the arms industry, young Hollywood nymphs are quick to violently slash huge portraits of the Axis leaders. But the favorite target of this propaganda is the Japanese Emperor Hirohito, who has become a sworn enemy since Pearl Harbor.
Then from out of the west came another partner to make a silly Axis of himself.
A Japanese sapper man, sneaking on with a do. Just a Japanese sapper man, I'm a little crazy too. Ouch! Oh, sorry. Oh, so sorry. Oh, very, very sorry, Frieza. Oh, to apologizing like a Dickens. Oh, just a minute, Frieza. Oh, I am not a Japanese son of gun.
As with official propaganda, the American view of the Japanese conveyed by the cinema industry is clearly stated. It expresses true racial hatred to the point of caricature. Even before Pearl Harbor, the widespread feeling was that the enemy had proven his barbarity. The massacres perpetrated on the Chinese population in Nanking in December 1937 left an indelible mark on people's minds. More than 200,000 victims in less than 6 weeks. In the Pacific, American prisoners of war are also subjected to torture and summary execution. Government instructions are crystal clear. Stay on the job until every murdering Jap is wiped out.
Why do you want to join this outfit?
My sister was caught by the Japanese in Manila. We never heard a word from her, but we read in the newspapers what they did.
Now, what about you?
3 years I've been a Marine. I haven't been in a fight yet. This is my chance.
Why do you want to sign up?
I just don't like Japs.
Driven by the urgent need for revenge, this hatred of the Japanese is not without its consequences on American soil. On the 19th of February 1942, a presidential decree allows for tracts of land to be designated as military zones, with the possibility of deporting certain sections of the population from there. More than 110,000 citizens of Japanese origin or Japanese living in the United States are uprooted from their homes. They are then interned in over 60 specially created camps. This war hysteria, as the American government put it in 1988 while making an official apology, is itself the inspiration for many films. Fear of a Japanese fifth column turns to paranoia in these films.
You bet I got a secret. Oh, and I bet we find it out. The soldier's got a secret, but I bet we find it out. Hello, Ma. I got a secret. I can only drop a tip. Don't breathe a word to no one, but I'm going on a trip. Boy, oh boy! We caught them with their pants down.
While they are inspired by current affairs, Hollywood scenarios are also taken by the fascination Americans have for Japanese culture. For America, the land of the rising sun is a land of samurais, guardians of an immemorial art of war. The Japanese fear neither suffering nor death, preferring either to the dishonor of defeat. In Frank Capra's explicitly entitled documentary, Know Your Enemy, Japan, the commentary sums up the Japanese mentality thus. For the Japanese soldier, death in combat is an ideal, and wherever his flag leads, he blindly follows.
You must kill us. We will win this war because we are willing to sacrifice 10 million lives. How many lives is the white man willing to sacrifice?
The most aggressive of this body of films is almost certainly The Purple Heart, which condemns the rigged trial of American pilots by a Japanese court. Freely adapted from real events, the film perfectly conveys America's deep-rooted hatred towards Japan. The New York Times reports, "It is, on the screen, a fine incentive to a consciousness of our national soul."
Captain Ross, is this your final word?
No, Excellency. It's true we Americans don't know very much about you Japanese, and never did. And now I realize you know even less about us. You can kill us. All of us are part of us. But if you think that's going to put the fear of God into the United States of America and stop them from sending other flyers to bomb you, you're wrong, dead wrong. They'll come by night and they'll come by day, thousands of them. They'll blacken your skies and burn your cities to the ground and make you get down on your knees and beg for mercy. This is your war. You wanted it. You asked for it. You started it. And now you're going to get it. And it won't be finished until your dirty little empire is wiped off the face of the earth.
For Hollywood stars, the fight against America's enemies isn't just confined to the cinema screen. Many Hollywood actors decide to put their careers on hold and consider it an honor and a duty to don a uniform and serve their country. More than 1,500, including around 50 major stars. Some distinguish themselves on the front line despite studio reticence. The studios, however, miss no opportunity in publicizing their new lives as serving soldiers.
Hello. Gee, looks like I'm back in the movies again, doesn't it? Well, as a matter of fact, I like to do some talking. Don't go away until I get this thing off. Now, it isn't as if it was a chore for me to talk to you because I want to speak on my favorite subject, the Army Air Forces. I can't speak from long experience. I've only been in the service a year, but I've learned a lot about what the Air Forces have to offer. That's what I want to talk to you about.
Robert Montgomery, star of many romantic comedies, is one of the first actors to join the conflict. At Dunkirk in 1940, working for the Red Cross. From 1942 to 1945, he then serves in the Navy. He fights in the Pacific during the Solomon Islands campaign and in Europe during the Normandy landings of June 1944. Douglas Fairbanks Jr., son of a silent movie legend who became an actor himself, also joins the Navy. Leading a unit specializing in deception tactics, he takes part in the Allied landings in Italy and in the south of France. One of Hollywood's great Latin lovers, Cesar Romero, enlists in the Coast Guards. He takes to the seas aboard a naval attack transporter as a simple sailor, participates in the invasion of the Mariana Islands and in the Leyte Gulf battle in the Philippines. Jackie Coogan, child star of Charlie Chaplin's The Kid, becomes a glider pilot, carrying out more than 20 missions over enemy lines in Burma. Sabu, famous for his role in Jungle Book, fights as a tail gunner aboard B-24 bombers, both in the Pacific and in Asia. Lastly, Wayne Morris is a Navy pilot in the prestigious 15th Fighter Squadron. He is credited with destroying 7 Japanese planes.
Clark Gable, cinema idol of millions, is now an officer in the United States Army Air Corps. This is the graduating parade of his classmates. Enlisting as a private, working up from the ranks, Gable won his commission by hard work, and with it the admiration of the entire nation.
Uncontested box office king and a true American icon, Clark Gable, joins the Army after the death of his wife, actress Carole Lombard. Called upon by the government to take part in the sale of war bonds in Indianapolis, Carole Lombard dies when the plane taking her back to Hollywood crashes only a few weeks after Pearl Harbor. A volunteer at the age of 42, Gable shaves off his famous moustache and is trained alongside young recruits. He also receives training as an air gunner. In January 1943, he is sent to England as a bomber squadron instructor. He is also given the task of making a documentary aimed at encouraging men to sign up as air gunners in the US Air Force. To make the film, Gable, who incidentally has a price put on his head by Hitler, takes part in several missions on board B-17 flying fortresses in Belgium, in France, and in Norway. Another major star of the period, Tyrone Power, enlists in the Marines and becomes a transport aircraft pilot. Assigned to Saipan Island in the Pacific, he transports supplies to troops stationed in combat zones and helps evacuate the wounded. He sees action notably in Iwo Jima and in Okinawa, where he regularly comes under enemy fire. Fighting for his country since 1940, James Stewart becomes a bomber pilot. He transfers to England as squadron leader and takes part in numerous air raids on industrial and military installations in Germany, in France, and in Holland. By the end of the war, he has reached the rank of colonel and receives several decorations, including the French Croix de Guerre. All America is mobilized behind its army. On the home front, the latest directives have a profound impact on daily life. Agricultural production is prioritized to provide vital supplies for troops. The population is thus encouraged to respect the new rationing measures and grow their own vegetables in victory gardens, which spring up in every American city.
I gotta hand it to you, Junior. Those are certainly lovely-looking tomatoes you got there.
Well, they ought to be. I've been taking good care of them. I've been using only the very best fertilizer.
Fertilizer?
Well, certainly. What have you been using?
On my tomatoes, I always put mayonnaise.
Look, before you start putting corned beef on your cabbage, I better explain a few things to you. You see, good soil and fertilizer are the foundation of your garden.
If you say so, Junior, that's the conditions that prevail.
A huge campaign to collect raw materials is also put in place. Anything made of metal, car tires, and even waste cooking fat used for making explosives is collected for recycling.
We're in to win, so let's begin to do the job with John. We're in to win, turn in your tin and listen to it from pots, pans, old tin cans, pails, nails, empty pails, fats, hats, rubber mats, missing legs, kitchen sinks, garbage cans, electric fans, rubber boots, bathing suits, reels, wheels, run-down heels, bench, springs, piston rings, metal shears, old tin ears, tires, chains, water mains, skates, plates, furnace rates, pitching forks, rubber cords, sacks, racks, railroad tracks, clothes, hose, fiddle bows, plugs, lugs, bathroom rugs, cotter keys, housemate knees, rubber bands, birdcage heads, metal snip, pillow slip, locks, locks, grandpa clocks. And that's why we're in. Win!
Hollywood's female stars encourage women to turn in their silk stockings. These are converted for use in the manufacture of parachutes or for wrapping delicate military materials.
Film star Lynn Barry collects the stockings at the 20th Century Fox studio in Hollywood and is helped by another star, Alice Faye, in inspecting them. There's an explosive reason for the silk and nylon drive. The stockings will be used in making powder bags for firing heavy guns. Girls, here's how your worn-out stockings will go to war and hit the Nazis and the Japs a great big sock.
In September 1943, the main cinema magazines organize a campaign to encourage housewives to take up the jobs vacated by men who have left to serve their country. There is work for every one of them, explains the government information manual for the motion picture industry. From schoolgirls to grandmothers, all can help America along the road to victory. It is up to the Hollywood stars, whose styles are copied throughout the land, to convince women they won't lose their femininity.
Before the war, Veronica Lake's one-eyed hairdo established a style that swept the feminine face of the country. Veronica's witchlock received the stamp of approval from young girls the country over. In a changing world, however, a change of hairstyle was indicated. Not bad on a dance floor, perhaps, but this Lake's eye view is entirely out of place in a war production plant. Miss Lake has now decided to put glamour in its proper wartime place and face the world with both eyes in the clear. Her hair is out of the way, combed in a simple but becoming fashion.
From 1942 onwards, tens of thousands of women join the Army or the Marines in new, specially created units. Having donned their uniforms, they set to work in a wide array of tasks within the military machine. Others join the Red Cross, as medical auxiliaries like Joan Fontaine, or as nurses like Myrna Loy, one of Hollywood's highest-profile stars.
These are American women. They could be your neighbor's daughters. Yet, in the desperate hour of our country's need, they rose to magnificent heights of courage no woman and few men have ever reached before. From their heroic deeds, their boundless love, their women's hearts, comes this true story of intense dramatic power.
The studios carefully orchestrate media coverage of their stars each time they make an appearance. They take part in campaigns to give blood and in many other fundraising events.
In Hollywood, all the great stars of screen, stage, and radio eagerly volunteer for a gigantic Red Cross benefit. In the auditorium, the show is underway, and the vast audience is entertained by James Cagney, Irene Rich and Pat O'Brien, Gene Autry and his Texas Rangers, George Burns, Don Amici and Edward G. Robinson, Orson Welles, the Merrimacs, Charles Lawton, Shirley Temple and Paul Muni, the irrepressible Mickey Rooney with Phil Silvers and Sidney Miller, John Garfield, and pretty Mary Martin, whose heart now belongs to the Red Cross.
The government is committed to an all-out war, and propaganda points out to everyone the role they have to play in civil defense. America is even preparing for a possible foreign attack on its own soil. And like millions of other Americans, the stars also take turns in keeping a close watch over the night skies on screen.
Hello, God. It's a wonderful night, isn't it? So bright and clear and shiny. Wonderful night for an air raid. I don't think there's going to be any air raid. Not here in our own United States of America. I suppose that some of the people on our side are being bombed somewhere, like England or Russia or China. Terrible, horrible. But I just wanted you to know how much we appreciate not being bombed here in our own country, in our United States.
In the United States, as at the front, many clubs are set up to welcome Allied soldiers. Their entrance ticket is their uniform, and everything is done to ensure they enjoy themselves while on leave.
You had plenty money, 1922. You let other women make a fool of you. Why don't you do right, like some other men do? Get out of here and get me some money too.
In Manhattan, professionals working on the New York stage create the Stage Door Canteen. Located in a theatre basement, the canteen is inaugurated in March 1942. Service is taken care of by Broadway artists who also put on regular shows alongside stars of cinema and song. Soon afterwards, in October, the Hollywood Canteen is inaugurated on the West Coast, right in the heart of Hollywood. Its creation is the idea of actor John Garfield, and Betty Davis takes over the management. In the canteen, countless stars generously perform free their magic tricks, comedy sketches, or recitals.
You know, her coffee could be sweeter, but I'm not in the dumps, because every time she hugs me, it's like 2 extra lumps.
No upsetting the nerves, no bad taste. It's a nice, smooth drink. Pour a little in your glass and drink it right down, but be sure and ask for Guzzler's gin. A nice, smooth drink.
The Xavier Cugat, Kay Kaiser, or Duke Ellington orchestras set the tempo for nights at the Hollywood Canteen. Drinks and light refreshments are available free of charge. And Hollywood's high society contributes by serving or working in the bar or the kitchens. Even United States Vice President Henry Wallace comes to help Dinah Shore and Bob Hope make up sandwiches one evening in 1944. On one of the walls hang photos of all the celebrities who've joined up to fight under the American flag. On the dance floor, soldiers are privileged to dance in the arms of Marlene Dietrich or Rita Hayworth. On the 15th of September 1943, the millionth visitor, Sergeant Carl Bell, is escorted inside by Lana Turner, Deanna Durbin, and Marlene in person, before receiving a kiss from Betty Grable.
Command Performance USA, the greatest entertainers in America, is requested by you, the fighting men of the United States Armed Forces throughout the world. This weekly radio program is governed by your letters. Joe Jeep commands in the War Department of Days. As this program is being performed in the Hollywood studio, a master recording is made from which transcripts will be shipped to Army and government-operated stations all over the world.
She's a very good friend of mine, and she's from MGM. And her name is Lucille Ball. Come on! Hello, Kay.
Oh, Lucille Ball. I adore you. I worship you. Every beat of my heart is a flame that burns your name in my soul.
Okay, Kay, don't be ridiculous. Well, you just met me.
Hey, listen, a chowhound doesn't have to wait for dinner to be hungry, you know.
To put on sketches, sing songs, or read out messages to soldiers, the country's biggest stars take turns on the airwaves. From Rita Hayworth to Jimmy Durante, from Bing Crosby to Judy Garland.
Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
Hollywood actresses, whose pictures adorn every barrack room, bring comfort and diversion to American soldiers. Often having a brother, a husband, or a fiancé away at war, these actresses willingly accept their new role as pin-ups.
Pin-up girl, that's what they name me. I'm the kid who loves you all. Don't be shy, come on and frame me. Stick me in your locker or against the wall. Pin-up girl, you've all embraced me. I'm your dream, your gay mirage. Many eyes have sweetly faced me. I am yours to tax or pins or mucilage.
Ah, Linda, if you were only here to nurse me.
Now, Freddie, they have enough trouble with your temperature as it is.
Good night, Joe. Sweet dreams.
These pin-ups are something to fantasize about. In the eyes of soldiers fighting at the front, they represent the American woman who is waiting for them back home. The most famous pin-up is undoubtedly Betty Grable, whose photo in swimming costume becomes an enduring symbol during the Second World War. More than any other star, Betty Grable represents the girl next door. And she creates a stir each time she appears at a military base. Actors, singers, and musicians also volunteer to entertain troops and bring them comfort wherever they may be, in the most isolated outposts or in combat zones. These tours are organized by the USO, the United Services Organization, set up at the request of President Roosevelt. Nearly 7,000 Hollywood artists take part, putting on more than 55,000 shows on 5 continents. After having received the requisite vaccinations and pledging not to divulge military secrets, they come to perform on makeshift stages, in hangars or in the open air, in the jungle or the desert, and in all weathers. Several of them leave a particular mark on the history of USO shows, like Jack Benny, who performs for weeks on end in North Africa, in the Pacific, and in Europe.
Thank you. How are you, fellow tourists? How are you? Glad to be here, especially with this group here. I've been looking for you guys, Ohio boys. That's my racket. Yes, sir. I think there are a few foreigners in here, too. Oh, that's Texas, I know.
Bob Hope and his devastating humor bring laughter to nearly 2 million soldiers between 1942 and 1944. Once again, the number of performances is impressive, notably in the Pacific, where, in his own inimitable way, Hope says, "The mosquitoes are so big that they have to use landing strips." During the same period, the comedian Joe E. Brown covers more than 150,000 miles, visiting hundreds of military camps. He lost one of his sons, Captain Don Brown, in an air crash, and enjoys an almost paternal relationship with the adoring GIs. His clown-like performances portraying a baseball match or a speech by Adolf Hitler become famous throughout the armed forces. Joe E. Brown would be one of only 2 civilians to receive a military medal, the Bronze Star, for his efforts during the Second World War. With this personal accolade from General MacArthur, there isn't a man in uniform or out who has done more for our boys than you have.